Thanks so much for downloading our 10th podcast. I'm Mike Riversdale, working to grow Kiwi companies, an open society, and kicking ass in the Miramar Hackathon community.
Wow, ass kicking. And I'm Raj. My background is in film, design, media, and technology. And you're here because you're a Kiwi that either works in or has a great passion for tech and media in New Zealand. We have another great show for you today, and later we'll be talking to Natalie Ferguson, who has some...
Great input and views on everything. It's a fantastic interview. Right, episode 10, double digits. Let's get the news. French city of Toulouse saved €1 million by migrating all its desktops to LibreOffice. So what, Mike? What's that got to do with NZ Tech? Well, I suppose it's more of a trend, really, that our glorious government, both at local and country level, must be aware of, one would hope. Just a city in France? That's not a trend. Well, how about the Open Document Format, ODF, is being adopted by the whole of the UK government as its way that they will exchange words and numbers, spreadsheets and documents, with citizens and suppliers. Again, it's merely about documents. What format is your word processing stored? So how does that play with the majority of tech workers? Well, nothing, obviously, unless you are Microsoft or your business is tied inextricably to Microsoft Office. But again, think about the trend, the move to open source and open standards. If you're a CIO, you should be watching, thinking about it now, as that's going to be where the skill sets are going, and that's where the innovation is going to come from.
That's interesting. The AIID seeks advice over 1 billion revamp.
1.5 billion?
Sorry, I've missed a couple of million. The AIID is seeking nominations from people in the technology industry to advise on its business transformation program, which is expected to cost $1.5 billion over the next 10 years. So it's not just this year. Paul Ramsey, co-chair of the industry lobby group NZ Rise, says all engagement of that nature is to be encouraged. But the industry also wanted to be able to communicate directly to the Minister, Todd McClay. So it looks like the AIID had a change of heart after Labour, the Greens and the former Revenue Minister, Peter Dunn, joined the lobby group last year, voicing the concerns of the Kiwi technology firms that had been shut out of the tender to help design the first stage of the Inland Revenue's business transformation program, and now to validate its future stages.
Wow, a lot going on.
Yeah.
Privacy is key, but who knows what they have on you? I love this story.
Who's they?
Do you know the they? Everybody's tracking you.
Oh, right.
From Google all the way down to fitness companies. And this is a great story. 75 media students made Privacy Act requests for data held on them by banks and social media companies and loyalty cards. And it generated a treasure trove of personal information stored by companies such as TradeMe, Flybys and OneCard, much of it without the individual's knowledge. Now, I heard the Privacy Commissioner, John Edwards, talking about this last week on national radio. And in a nutshell, we can always ask what they have on record, but we can request amendments, and we can even ask nicely for it to be deleted. But they, whoever they is, don't have to do it. So they have to give you it, but they don't have to change it. Interestingly, when he was asked in that interview under what circumstances would a company or agency have to delete something, he was stuck for a situation. It seems that you can know what they've got, but you can't do fuck all about it. I say we join these 75 students and all start writing to the government agencies and companies and requesting all the information they have about you. They have to give it to you within 30 days. So let's do it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a blog post which will show people how to get in touch with all the government agencies. People power!
That's great. So what happens after 30 days?
If they don't do it, then they are breaching the law, and then you can go to the Privacy Commission and make a complaint. And if there's enough of us doing it...
Yeah, need noise, right? Need enough noise.
Exactly right.
Interesting. Microsoft says cloud is no longer a trend.
Oh my lord! This is the news section.
Wait a minute. This is this happened this year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they say by 2017, public cloud IT spending will reach close to $108 billion.
Wow.
So Microsoft are now telling their partners that they need to get into the cloud ASAP.
Woohoo!
So they see others in the industry, of course, providing cloud services and making great profits from it. I think it's a change of direction that's also been pushed by the new CEO, Satya Nadella, who himself comes from that cloud services background within Microsoft, right? So are Microsoft late to the game? I don't know.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, because one of my businesses adopted the cloud reasonably early on. And Mike, I know at the same time, you started and then subsequently sold a cloud business within that time. So what took Microsoft so long to get on board?
Internal politics and getting rid of the old farties. Steve Ballmer's. I mean, I've just recently helped a company move to Office 365. And look, I can't stand Microsoft products on Windows and Outlook and all that. I think it's awful.
Yes.
I'm really impressed with their web offering. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I like that. I'm looking at moving that as well. Yeah, I've
so
done one implementation.
It's good.
It's not bad.
It's nice.
Anyway, it's not a Microsoft ad, so let's move on.
That's true. NZ Rise. Hands up, who even knows what NZ Rise is?
That's the sun when it comes up, right?
That's right. Yeah. Okay, what about IITP or NZ Tech Association? Mm-mm. Look, there's a number of these or ICT organisations and associations in New Zealand. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Here's a not quite comprehensive list of these organisations that are meant to look out for all of our tech people and companies in New Zealand. We'll start with the IITP, Institute of IT Professionals. This used to be called the New Zealand Computer Society, and it's squarely aimed at each and every one of our tech workers, not companies. So only individuals.
So it's about the people.
It's about the people.
Yep.
Get involved, everyone. They do awesome work. And they've got a particularly awesome program called ICT Connect, which is about IT tech workers going to schools and helping advocate for tech, not in the schools, but for tech industry. It's an excellent program. The next one, the New Zealand Tech Association. And again, they used to be called something else, but I can't remember what. They're
Computer Club or something.
Yeah. The Miramar Commuter Club is where they started. Look, they're the biggie, and they usually represent the big New Zealand players and the international players. So this is the organisation that Microsoft would have joined, or an Oracle, for instance. Okay. ALGIM, ALGIM.
No, never heard that one.
Association of Local Government Information Management. So these guys are focused on tech workers within local government, but also they do have vendors and suppliers can join as well. And going up the chain, we've got GOVIS, GOVIS, the Government Information Systems Managers, which seems to be all about the big annual event they have. They have a big GOVIS event, which is really good, and everyone should pop along to that. We've got the Internet NZ. These are the gals and guys that have our internet at heart. And to be fair, if you're not a member of Internet NZ, what the fuck are you doing? Do it. And then finally, we'll go back to NZ Rise, the up-and-comer in the association stakes. This is an organisation that focuses on Kiwi-owned tech companies and has some very big brains involved. And this is the one for all New Zealand startups and tech companies. And Victoria, you remember Victoria, of course, right?
Yep.
She's got a great post about why her company joined. Her company being Optimal BI. I think she was on episode 3.
Yeah. One of our first interviews.
That's right. Awesome interview. Go check it out, guys. And so check out the link in our show notes. But her main benefits for joining NZ Rise are an expanded network and connections, opportunities for partnering and collaboration. They speak with a collective voice. That's the same for all of the associations. Enhanced engagement with New Zealand government and government agencies. And of course, access to these great minds. So it doesn't really matter which association is your cup of tea, but what we say is, look, we're a small country. We've got lots of people scattered all over it. Join an organisation, association, to have your voice heard.
Nice. And here's some stories we'd love to hear your views on, because we don't have time to talk about them now. Links are in the show notes, of course. And how do you get to those show notes?
Oh, you use Yahoo. Yahoo search.
Of course you would. First up, 0 results. Something about
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
they've done stuff.
Yeah, they're always doing stuff, and they're always doing well.
Yes.
I'd like to see others didn't make some more noise.
Well, they're always doing well, but are they? But are they not? And there's a lot of commentators
on speculation scenario. Yeah.
Interactive app. This is one that Raj just found. This is an interactive app that tells Maui's story. Of course, we're at the very end of
Maori Language Week.
Te Reo Week.
Mm-hmm.
Maui and his first journey is a new bilingual app that reinforces positive parenting, child development and brain development through interactive storytelling, and we love it.
It is really cool.
We actually couldn't stop playing with it. So you do need to go to it. Go find the link in the show notes.
Oh, Mike, did you know the 6 o'clock news broke a major story this week?
Tech story?
I mean, it was a major tech story.
Wow.
I
missed
they
that.
jumped on it. It was amazing.
What was it?
Yes, right. Trade Me moved into their new building this week.
Okay.
And the focus of the story was their big slide.
Woo!
So they've had one at their previous office, 1 to 2 level. The other one goes through the whole building. Can send you right down. Which, if you wear the wrong kind of pants, apparently, according to the story, you can end up shooting out at great speed. And that's the state of tech reporting in New Zealand at the moment.
Oh, my lordy. Well, you certainly don't want to be shooting out at great speed. That sounds very naughty.
And to view all of these in more detail, check out the show notes. And that's all the news you need to know this week. Events.
Woohoo! Events! We haven't got a sting yet, so let's do this.
Events. It's a chance to get out of that office pod and meet your fellow Kiwis making computers do things. Canterbury Software Cluster has a political panel discussion with current ICT Minister Amy Adams, Claire Curran, Gareth Hughes and Lila Hare.
Oh, these are the people that we're trying to get to do our election special, and think we've...
That's our Christmas list right there, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's our list.
So, yes.
We'll have to follow that up. That's on Tuesday, 5th of August, between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. at the Jackman Auditorium, University of Canterbury's College of Education. It's on 53 Solway Ave in Ireland, Christchurch.
Got a Women in Tech meetup. It's Thursday, August the 7th. At 6 p.m. at 7 Sale Street in Auckland. This is the first in what they hope will be a series of monthly meetups to discuss issues faced by women in tech industry and provide a support network. Meetup.com/Women in Tech Meetup Auckland.
Oh, that's interesting. Stay tuned for Natalie's interview for further views on women-only groups. Setting up and managing web-related businesses in Hamilton. Wednesday, August 20th, 5:30 at the S Block on Vision College, at Vision College, of course.
And the next one we got is Agile NZ Conference. It's still at Te Papa, 3rd to the 4th of September. agilenz.co.nz for that. Some biggies. We've got the Amazon's re-event in LA, but it is being streamed, I understand. That's November the 11th to 14th. And Microsoft's NZ Tech Ed, the biggie in New Zealand. That's 9th to the 12th of September in Auckland.
And access granted our team, the podcast team, the hashtag me team are going to be there. And we'd love to hear from fellow attendees, hook up for their thoughts, catch up with any of the team.
It's going to be great. See everybody there. And a general events and groups post from Sam Ragnarsson. I hope I had that right. He's at Sam Rag. He's listing all of the groups that host events in that fine and evolving city of Christchurch. It's a big link, so here we go. It's samrag.com/2014/04/06/networking in Christchurch. And if you've missed that, of course, it's in our show notes. So Natalie Ferguson, wonderful interview coming up now, worked on Waveadept's first website back in the day, has worked with and for many iconic web services in New Zealand, and she's been a backer and entrepreneur for many others. We ranged over a number of subjects with Natalie as we drank red wine with the finest of labels. Check it out on the podcast post, the picture of the label. And so, let's get into the goal from Natalie, and she has a lot. So we're sitting in a very warm room with Natalie Ferguson from Decisive Flow. I've known Natalie for a number of years, not that many years, and Natalie helped when I had Waveadept.
Back in the day.
Yeah,
it probably was a few years ago.
It was probably a few years ago now, 2009 years, that's when it was. Natalie set up our first website.
Was that right?
Yes.
So that's how I met Mike too, is through the Waveadept scenario through Twitter.
Was it really?
Yeah.
People have asked.
You sorted my Google Apps out. You gave me a couple of ideas and said, here you go, you can do it this way. And then I did it and you go, oh yeah, that works.
There you go.
Then you sent a bill. And...
So you probably found me.
Yeah.
Because you Googled.
Yeah.
And you'd have found our website that Natalie would have done. And that's how you found us.
That's
it's
right.
a happy combination.
How was that? Too small here in New Zealand, isn't it?
Exactly. So Natalie, that was way back then.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing since?
Similar and different. Back then, I suppose I was doing a lot more marketing website stuff, and I have focused more and more in the years on web apps and now more mobile app design. And as part of that, probably not so much on the end design, more of the bit that comes before it, like the user experience, but potentially even a step before that in the business analyst sort of side now. I think I don't really have a job role, but I sort of slot in at all those, and that's the stuff that really I like. So
there's all the scoping out.
I didn't realise that was sort of what I did, but I was working with some business analysts on a project, and we sort of realised I jumped in at one end of what they were doing, and it is something that I think is really important for my job. So, but yeah, that's a very small part, and it sort of goes through to the wireframing and the design and the harassing people about, interactions and that sort of stuff.
So do you still end up with a working website at the end of that? Sort of, do you do the
I do some coding still, like I still do some websites because I really do enjoy the marketing side once again it comes down to like the messaging and the communicating with people. But for the more complex, like I draw the line now, well I always have at a level, and nowadays for like apps and stuff, I obviously partner with developers or get contracted in as part of a project team, so I don't have to do much coding. I don't think they trust me with it anymore.
I love that phrase. I'm about to use it myself, that whole get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a keyboard. I don't know how dirty your keyboard is, but...
They get dirty.
Yeah.
The studies and everything.
You don't even want to look at them, eh?
Okay. And so, when you started, is it fair to say that websites were generally brochure websites, like you did for us, really? It was like, this is who we are, this is what we do, click here to contact Mike.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, if we're looking at where I started in a startup. I dove straight into that and then moved on to the website. So I was sort of an all-rounder from day one, and because that was a dismal failure, the first startup, that I wanted to get a little bit more experience working for other people and figuring out how different organisations work and business world worked and all that sort of stuff, because I did that straight out of uni. So I suppose I started too far in one direction and then took a step back, maybe.
And has the tech moved on as well? As you do more shit now?
Yeah. I actually think this year has been really exciting because I think it's made another big jump, and I don't know if it's just in New Zealand, but I think people have started to realise how cool it is to have cool stuff. And so, and that the cool stuff has become cooler. Like a lot of the CSS you see now and JavaScript, you can do some really nice things. Like it feels more and more like you are just interacting with the website. Whereas I think even 2 years ago when we said interacting, it was kind of fake. You know, whereas now it is like you can do something and it will respond specifically to what you have done, which is what I find really interesting because I don't really like computers.
Goddamn computers.
I just like the idea that it's like helping you do stuff, and I think, and even the stuff we're talking about in the office quite a lot is like it's pretty cool stuff that you can do now. So, which makes my job even cooler because a couple of years ago I'd be like, wow, I wish we could do this, and you know, it would be another month of development to try. So,
does that blur the boundary between web apps and native apps? Is that sort of making that? You can't see me doing this, but I've got my hands are up and the lines, they're getting closer and closer. Is that?
Yeah, probably. I reckon. I mean, I suppose in my head now, and I mean, I'm not a developer, so I don't know, but it strikes me that it is just a matter of budget. Like, you can get to a certain extent now with a non-native app that's quite a lot further than you used to be able to, and it's really only if you want to get those, like, really fine details and have something that's, like, specific to the phone you're on or the tablet you're on or whatever, that you would pay the extra to get that native app, I think.
Wow, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and definitely the Google I/O showing off, and it was a lot of smoke and mirrors, to be fair, and a lot of 1,000 developers holding up, but they showed Android running on Chrome. And that's like, well, okay, I don't know what an app is anymore. Is it a web app? Is it a... It's all just becoming one big...
But I love that stuff because, like, I was talking to Mum the other day, and she, this is embarrassing, she'll hate this. She was like, they're thinking of getting a tablet, and she's like, but we have to learn how to use this because they have a PC and they struggle with it. Yeah. And I was like, but the joy is that now you don't have to learn it. Like, you're stuck in 5 years, 10 years ago where everything was hard. But nowadays you can jump on anything and it should work the same as it did on the other thing. So you don't have to learn it anymore, which I think, if it's an app, if it's on a browser, if it's what, it should resemble each other.
It should.
It should.
Always, unfortunately, but it definitely should. Is that then the way that you approach stuff has changed? You're saying that you're no longer a developer per se. I mean,
and I never was. Yeah.
But you get it, you understand it. And when a developer says something, you can go, you're talking bullshit, I know.
Yeah. That's about as much as I need to know.
Yeah. Well, that's all you need to know. Yeah, exactly. But the stuff that you're designing then, is that affected by the technology underneath, or is it really you just don't care and you can go, this is what needs to happen, I know it can happen, go make it happen? Or are you still having to go, ooh, I don't know if we can do that in technology now, or do we have to wait?
I actually think it comes down to, it's funny, one of the things that I think no one ever teaches you, like if you go to design school, is it comes down to the real world and budgets, like, and organizations you work for, like in like Able Tech, who I work with here. We can think outside the square as much as we like. We can be like, this is what we want to build, let's jump in and build it. Working for like a government client, for example, they're a lot more restricted in how they feel, you know, because they have to cater for so many more different kinds of browsers. Like a lot of the things they have to look at, you know, you have to rely on people who might not have upgraded for the last 10 years or something. So you
just leave them behind. Just leave them behind.
Some people just can't. So depending on who you work for, depends on how wild you can go, I suppose. So there's still, I reckon, there's still a lot of work that you do that is, you know, it could have been now, it could have been 5 years ago. But what's really cool is when you're working with people who also want to see what's the coolest thing you can do.
So you've done, and I don't really know the history, you've done a startup and then you had Decisive Flow and that's changed, but also tangentially you've been hooked with a whole bunch of startups that have come and gone. Some haven't, some have.
Yeah.
The one I know is with Julie Starr.
Yeah. I think that one was, so my history is very complicated and started really badly and sort of got progressively better.
Better to go that way than the other way.
So Decisive Flow is like my full-time job and I love it. And then I've been doing over the last however many years side projects, I suppose, where I take a small stake in a startup and be the designer.
Yeah.
And so with Julie Starr, that was a brilliant idea, all about the story, which was came about, you know, when we all realised that the media landscape is changing and the traditional newspaper won't exist at some point. And so this sort of, or her plan, as far as, you know, I'm aware, was, well, it's going to change, so let's jump in now and let's start playing around with what's going to change, and if we can position ourselves so when it does, we've sort of got... but I think the timing was slightly off. I still think it was a really cool thing to do, and you know, that was a hard one to close down because even though it never really got the traction we wanted, I still think that it was, you know, its day will come.
Yes.
So,
That's right, yeah.
But you never know, with timing. Whereas my tours, which is the one that I've been working on now for about 4 years maybe, has actually, like that, My Tours is a tour building app for museums, councils, galleries, that sort of stuff. Anyone who has existing tours, they can come into our, I keep calling it a web platform, I don't know what you call it, the web app, and add in all their content, and then we package it up into native iPhone, Android, Windows apps, and they can have a white label version of their own tours and their own app. That has taken a couple of years to get sort of traction, but this year it feels like, you know, we've got a team of salespeople, we've redesigned the whole admin end, it's looking really nice. We've got customers all around the world, so that idea I think took a while to bubble, but we managed to, well, Glenn stuck through it a lot, and it's starting to really pay off this year. So,
where can people find you when they come looking for you, when they want to stalk you online? Where
will
they
find you?
It's at the bar, obviously, but online, where would they find you?
I'm in a couple of places. My website, decisiveflow.com, which no one ever gets, so you're going to have to type that one out. I blog at simpleandlovable.com, which is, I've just gotten back into it after about a 2-year break by accident.
And it is, it's one of the best New Zealand blogs going.
Ah,
by far.
Wow. You and my mum think that.
It is. You blog about...
Actually, my mum doesn't know how to find it.
This, that and the other, but it is almost always, you always make me go, oh, that's an interesting point. And we talked about one of your posts last week.
Yes.
The should women in tech have a space of their own? We should probably talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that really quickly because I did think of something to say when I was practicing.
We both said yes, by the way.
Yeah, I think in anything in life, it's all about balance, right? So I don't think it should be a woman's versus a men thing, or we need our own space. I think there is a role to play with women's groups in supporting a certain element of the world as it is today and being a breeding ground for things to happen, like relationships to be formed, support to be made, people to get confidence, and then you go back out into the real world. I don't believe that women's groups should be a big thing, but I think until we figure out how to, balance things out a bit more, they play a role.
Absolutely.
But that's about as far as I care about it, I think. Like, I think anyone I know...
Well, you say that, but you set it up.
Yeah, because I set it up because we didn't have... Well, we did have one. We had an unofficial one. We had a group of females founders who went out regularly and moaned in a way that we didn't around other people.
It's just a night out, a night out.
And then we thought, can we justify this drinking? Maybe we should formalise it.
Give yourself a meet-up, and now it's official.
Yeah.
So does it still go?
Yes, and it's really successful. I'm surprised because I think, we were all quite awkward about it because we're all fairly strong people and we're not really big fans of, oh, woe is me, I'm a woman. That doesn't sit well with me. I've stood up on my own for long enough now. I don't need a women's group. But it's weird how many random people have come out of the woodwork and very successful people. We had someone from Air New Zealand coming and talk to us a couple of weeks ago, and she was fascinating. And I suppose this is the difference, is you go to a lot of tech events and she would turn up and you'd be talking about development languages or sort of like what we're talking about now. Whereas she turned up there and we talked about what it's like to get divorced and have that's the whole conversation was being a solo mum and how do you have a career around that. Nothing to do with tech, even though what we anticipated talking about was tech. And it's just a different flow, and I don't know if it can be replicated in other situations. I've just personally never had it in other situations. So but I don't want to do that all the time because, like I say, with being insular in Wellington, I don't want to live in a world where we all sit around and say how hard it is to do this stuff. It's nice to acknowledge it sometimes and get ideas from people, but we're pretty blunt with each other. But no, it's really successful. There's a whole range of people from uni students who've come in who are looking at working for themselves or really have no idea what they want to do, right the way through to some people that, super impressive people. And they're all equal. We all sit around and talk about things that we really struggle with.
One of the things that I find, and I do something similar, nothing like that, but mirror my men is what I do, and that's very much a man's thing. And one of the reasons that some of the wives say, oh, can I come? We go, no. And they go, why not? Is it because we'd have to explain everything?
Yeah.
And I don't have to
with
the guys. I can say something and they all... We're men, so we do eyebrows a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of eyebrow movements in the men's thing.
Yeah.
But that's it. Because it's like, I got you. I get it.
Yeah.
If there's a man at that group, and then you think, we want to be inclusive with Raj, we'll bring him in. 95% of the conversation will be explaining to Raj
or feeling worried that we're sounding
about
you. But I think it's the same as any group. It's sort of I would hang out with a group of founders in general or a group of tech nerds, and I wouldn't want my non-tech friends to come because we'd spend the whole time being like, sorry, this is a weird nerd joke. The world is full of groups, and I think we can focus on men, women's groups, but let's be honest, it's just another group, and don't focus on it, don't hang out in it all the time, but they have their role.
Yeah, well, the thing is, yes, I agree, it is just another group, but it is just another group that you started and you did it, and people go, that's cool. Yeah,
it is cool. I stand by it, it's really cool. I think it's brilliant, but I don't feel like it's a political point. It's not a, we need this because the world is full of awful men, or we're a bunch of feminists. Yeah, no, it's not like that. No. And the reason I even wrote the blog post about it was that it makes me awkward that we don't allow men. But now you said you don't allow women, I feel much happier because it is true. That's why. Yeah. And the other reason is sometimes women will say, hey, can I bring my boyfriend along? And it's like, no, the rest of us had to suck it up and turn up on our own and meet people. Yeah. So as much as you might want to bring them along as a crutch, just do the same as what we did. It's hard, but and so that's actually a little bit toughen up rather than come and join the female hug.
Plus after one or two, you're back and you won't need the boyfriend, whatever.
No, we just don't let him come in the first place.
There you go.
Exactly.
We let one guy come because he was giving us sponsorship wine. So he was allowed to come and tell us about his wine.
So you pay your way in. You can pay your way in. That's right.
He was cool though. He was cool.
Oh, mate. The woman wants to give us wine.
Of course he was is cool. Yeah, you bought one. It's default.
So we've got Decisive Flow. We've got your blog. Your blog. Sorry.
Twitter @NatFergster. Don't know. Yeah, that was a decision I made earlier in life.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Email addresses all over all those things.
There you go. Those two places.
Yeah.
We'll
You'll
put
find
some of that
me.
in the notes anyway.
You can probably Google me and you'll get me or a gymnast and you'll know the... Yeah, I don't know if the gymnast may not be there anymore. I might have wiped her off.
Excellent. You're working with, you can do that.
Yeah, I should know more than a gymnast about search engines.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
No, thank you guys.
Really
that was actually quite fun.
That was a great interview, and we covered a hell of a lot on this one. One thing you should do is check out that wine label, Rough Red, which Natalie said summed you up quite well.
Very good. Right, call to action. Election special. We're trying to herd the cats and get tech reps from the 5 main parties to give us time to explain the party's ICT policies, as you heard us talk about previously. And we need your help with the questions. So go to the following short URL, which we'll put in the show notes, and leave your questions. And thanks everyone who already has. Right, the URL. Paper and pencil ready.
Ready?
It's Google GOO.gl/capital W, capital A, UH, capital RD. It's catchy, eh?
Oh yeah, that'll be. It rolls right off the tongue, doesn't
It does, doesn't it? One more time. Let's Google GOO.gl/capital W, capital A, UH, capital RD. But as I say, it's linked from the show notes as well. And thanks to those that have already left questions. Some of them we can actually use. Nice.
Nice one. Yep. Shout outs. Thanks to Ko-Fi for her wonderful supportive words on Twitter this week. We really appreciate it.
And next week we have an interview with Lou Draper, who's been focusing her PR firm on tech businesses. And like myself, we'll all learn what PR is. And most importantly, what it isn't. We'll get some common pitfalls for the young players out there and some awesome hints and tips to manage your publicity.
And as always, don't take our jibber jabber as gospel. Get all the links to the stories we reference in our show notes. And all the notes are one place, of course. They're linked from the #me podcast post when we go live on Tuesdays, or simply Google Access Granted show notes.
Look on Twitter for me at MiramarMike, MiramarMike. It's an A, not an I. And Raj at NZRaj. Use our podcast #AccessGranted, or you could even email us on accessgranted at #me.co.nz. And for all the hashtag goodness, such as the Twitter link, Facebook page, news, prizes, and much, much more, go to the #me.co.nz website.
Thanks for your time, and see you next Tuesday with the Kiwi Tech News for those who make the computers do what they do. Ka kite anō.
#me.co.nz